Hey, everybody, it's Natalie Bencavanga, and thank you so much for joining me tonight for another Facts Over Fear. This one is kind of hitting close to home tonight because we're going to be talking about an issue in Pennsylvania that I have been intimately involved with, helping with the comms direction for a coalition that we're going to be discussing. But I want to get into the topic itself and then introduce my wonderful guest. So right now in Pennsylvania, there's no guaranteed paid family and medical leave program. That means if you get seriously sick, if you need to take care of an aging parent, any issue, if you're trying to flee domestic violence, you could be forced to choose between your job and your family. And that's where the Family Care Act comes in. So this bill would create a state-run paid family medical leave insurance program, sort of like unemployment insurance. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. Supporters say it's about creating economic security and dignity, especially for low-income workers and marginalized communities who are often left out of employer-provided benefits. Opponents argue it could be a burden for small businesses or lead to administrative headaches. But as more states adopt similar programs and as federal momentum continues to stall, the pressure is growing for Pennsylvania to act. So Dan O'Brien, Family Economic Stability Policy Director at Children First Pennsylvania, has been one of the vocal champions of the Family Care Act and is part of the Family Care Act Coalition. And he is joining me tonight to talk about what this legislation could mean for working families across the state. Dan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just start with the basics. I know I outlined a little bit about what the Family Care Act is, but can you please elaborate?
And no, so you laid out generally, what paid family and medical leave is. But, in 1993, the federal government passed unpaid family leave. And basically what that did was provide job protection for folks up to 12 weeks if they had a baby or if they had to take care of themselves or a loved one with a serious illness. Great, fantastic, groundbreaking legislation that really impacted the lives of many Americans over the last, almost 3 decades. The problem with that is it didn't cover everybody. And so, in 1993, that law covered folks who work for an employer over 50, who have over 50 employees. And generally, many Americans work for employers with less than that. And so a large percentage of Americans were left out. And again, that's unpaid.
Right.
The family definition was also very different in 1993 than it is today. And so in reality, what was groundbreaking legislation really hasn't changed since that time. And so no one in America had paid leave because obviously most people cannot just go out for 12 weeks and not receive an income. And so what happened was many states, and now we're up to 13 states plus D.C., have passed their own statewide paid family and medical leave programs. So everything that you laid out there in terms of, having a baby or a serious illness, now in those states, they're able to receive part of their compensation back during the time that they're out because it is a life-changing moment in terms of their health, and it provides them that kind of that financial stability that unfortunately the unpaid FMLA federal program did not. And so that's kind of the general reason why this initiative exists.
Yeah, to me, this just seems like a no-brainer, right? Like if we're talking about healthy communities, healthy families, healthy people, which of course improves the healthy economy, right? I mean, these things are intricately tied. If everybody is sick and broke, you can't exactly work or feed as a consumer into the economy. So where is the pushback coming from?
Yeah, well, I mean, every country in the world besides us and Papua New Guinea have figured this out. So
wow.
Every country in the world has at least a paid parental leave program besides us and Papua New Guinea. So if that's where we want to be, no offense to Papua New Guinea, if we want to be that far behind other countries, including countries like South Sudan and others, they actually have parental leave programs. And so what really has been a pushback usually has been large business interest.
Shocking.
Yeah, really. It's like a trend we have here, isn't it? Large business interests that really don't have the interests of families or workers. And so the same opponents that have been against unions, have been against raising minimum wage, against anything that actually helps families and workers, that's the same folks that we're talking about that are opposing any kind of paid family medical leave program, whether it's in Pennsylvania or other states where we've either gotten it passed already or who have passed it here.
So let's talk a little bit about those other states. How many other states have passed their own version, so to speak, of the Family Care Act? And how close is Pennsylvania to catching up to those? And why is it important that we do this here in PA?
Yeah, so we have 13 states plus D.C. have passed their own programs. California did over 20 years ago. They just celebrated their 20th anniversary, I think, last year. New Jersey did it in 2009, and then other states kind of rapidly followed right around like 2016 up to today. And so 10 of those programs have already started, and there's 4 states who are basically like they've already passed the law and they're about to, be able to get those benefits in those states. The difference in every one of those states has been they've been 100% democratically controlled. So Democrats have controlled the House, the Senate of their, whatever they call them, in their own version in their state, plus the governor of that state. The difference in Pennsylvania is we would be the first truly purplely controlled state to pass a paid leave program. And when you talk about how close we are the first state who has had a Republican-led bill in our Senate passed out of committee. And so we are...
Say that again, because I want people to hear that. Yeah. That's a big deal.
So we are the first state in the country. So historically, we are the first state in the country to have a paid family and medical leave bill passed out of a Republican-controlled committee. So the Republicans control our Senate in Pennsylvania. Our champion, Senator Demel Robinson, who's out in Allegheny County, he's the chair of the committee. It's his bill. He ran it last year and passed. Leadership in the Senate decided not to run the bill. And so what we have done in Pennsylvania is kind of show that, what the other states have done was great, but we are proving that this is not only a Democratic issue, it is a Republican issue, and it's an independent issue. And that's supported by polling. We've run polls where now it's up to 81% of voters in Pennsylvania want a statewide paid leave program, and that includes up to 2/3 of Republican voters. And so when you're talking about politics, when you're talking about who wants this, everybody wants it.
Yeah.
The voters want it. The legislators want it. We'll talk about that in a second. The amount of support we've gotten on both Democrat and Republican side is really groundbreaking. And so other places in the country, including red states, including national folks who have been trying to get this done for decades, have looked at Pennsylvania as, if Pennsylvania gets it done, we can prove that we can get it done anywhere.
Wow, that is extremely exciting. And I have to say, having been a part of the coalition from the comms team's perspective, it's been really interesting to understand how difficult it is to get anything out of a committee. So to know that that happened under Republican control, I just want to reiterate to people how major that is. So what the heck is the holdup? Because it sounds very promising that this could become a reality.
Yeah, so I'll set you up with what the holdup is.
Okay.
So right now, it's kind of in the weeds, but right now we have 60% of the Pennsylvania Senate members sign on as co-sponsors of our Senate bill.
Wow.
And we have over 80 in the House. So obviously, if this bill is run, it'll pass. That doesn't happen. You don't have 60% of the Senate agreeing on anything, let alone one bill. And so the only thing that's really truly held it up is it has not become a priority of leadership in the House or Senate. And so if the bill is put on the floor, it would pass tomorrow.
Okay.
If House and Senate leadership sat down for an hour and a half and talked, they would figure out the differences between what they think should be in the bill and not in the bill. And they would come to an agreement pretty easily. And that's because the work has already been done. The House and Senate, by us, by the coalition, and by members, small business owners who have talked about wanting this, actual small business owners, not just big business lobbyists, disability rights advocates, maternal health advocates, child advocates, like myself, cancer advocates. And so what we have created is a playbook for Pennsylvania's leadership to actually just pass the bill.
Wow.
And so really, truly, it's just a matter of political will. We always tell leadership and other folks in the House and Senate, this isn't a matter of like who wants to get it done. It's a matter of like who should get it done first. And whoever wants to get it done first and take the credit, the coalition's behind, because really all we care about are the 4 million workers in Pennsylvania that right now, if they have a baby, if themselves or a loved one comes down with a serious illness like cancer, or if they are living with a disability now and they need to get treatment and they can't go to work or they can't leave work because they feel like they will lose income they need desperately, that's who we care about. And so really the lack of political will has held this up. And the lack of political will has prevented 4 million Pennsylvanians from having this lifeline that they desperately need. And if they look right across the river, I can see, if I literally went on my roof right now, I can see New Jersey. I live in
Mhm.
Bucks County in Pennsylvania. If I lived there, I would have it.
Wow. It's so arbitrary when you look at it that
It
way.
really is.
Can I ask you, what about people who are self-employed or independent contractors? Because there's more and more of us working the gig economy. Would this support those people as well?
So that's one of the best things. We've been able to learn from what has worked and what has not worked in other states. And now what has taken place after California and others have kind of passed their programs, have operated, they've been beginning to expand it. And so we've been able to learn from them. And so right now in both our House and Senate legislation, which is about 99% the same as each other, they would qualify. And so a self-employed or
Oh.
independent contractor can opt in to the program.
Mhm.
Whereas if you are employed by a company, you are automatically put into the program. So it gives opportunities for the self-employed and independent contractors have that benefit that right now, as you know, whether it's health insurance or retirement
Mhm.
or something like paid leave, is difficult to come by without a statewide program.
That's major. I
Yeah.
don't think people understand also how impactful that would be for so many Americans, especially in Pennsylvania, of course, which is where this bill would be. Okay, so that's all well and good, but
Mhm.
tell us who's paying for this? How does this get paid for? Because I'm sure that's what you're hearing a lot from people who are pushing back.
So the way it works is similar to how it works in every state, which has been a proven way to actually function as a statewide program. And so every single worker in Pennsylvania would pay a small percentage of their weekly wages. And when I say small, I mean I literally mean like a couple dollars a week, so like a cup of coffee a week. The House version of our bill would split the cost between employees and employers. Now, people will say small businesses can't afford to pay it. Well, actually, if they have less than 15 employees, they are exempt from paying in, but their employers can still get it. Because we listen to actual small business owners again. I'm going to
Right.
say actual small business owners because we actually talk to them. We don't just talk to the
Mhm.
lobbyists that represent big business.
Mhm.
In the Senate version of the bill, it's right now it's all employee paid, just like what California is, and I believe Rhode Island. Both of them work. So because it's such a small amount, if you use it once in your lifetime, you will actually have a larger return of investment than what you have paid in. And what we have found in other states, because guess what? We didn't create this idea. It's not like we're geniuses, like, we can just do this program. We followed the lead of other states. And what they have shown is usually people, whether they're having a baby or not, because we are an aging state, especially, folks will need it for family caregiving or even their own medical condition. And what ends up happening is, on average, folks use it about 2 times over their career. And so the return on investment is even more so than what you would pay in by far. And so, folks do have to pay in. But what is proven right now, people don't stop having babies and people don't stop getting cancer and serious illnesses. So when they
Mhm.
leave the workforce, they have nothing. When small businesses has an employee that has one of those serious health conditions, they lose that employee.
Yeah.
Not only does it help the employee, the workers stay in the workforce and actually stay in their home and be able to seek the treatment they need. It helps these small business owners who can't compete to recruit employees right now because guess what? All these large employers in Pennsylvania, they offer it because they can afford to do so. Who is missing is the majority of small business owners who want this benefit for their workers, just can't afford it without a statewide program.
If you're just joining me, I'm Natalie Bensvang and I'm with Dan O'Brien, and we are talking about the Family Care Act, which is Pennsylvania's potential paid family and medical leave bill. And we're talking, is this thing going to get over the finish line and what it could mean for people across the state and what this could signal being the first purple state that would pass this, because I think it would be like dominoes. And that leads me to, you were talking a little bit about having babies and in particular, can you talk about the research around how paid leave really impacts child development and health outcomes, especially in those first months?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll even follow up. We're going to get it done. It's a matter of when. That's not, it's not potential. It's going to happen. It's a matter
All
of
right, Dan, let's
getting
say
over the
it.
finish line. Um, so children first. We advocate for kids. That's why we're in this. It's
Mhm.
because it's so critical for kids to have that bonding time with their parents. I believe the statistic is about a quarter of moms go back to work after having a baby within 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
I
quarter of moms go back to work after having a baby within 10 days.
I remember I was at a Subway, I kid you not, many years ago, and this woman was making my sandwich, and I heard a little baby crying. And I said, "Oh my gosh, is that your baby?"
Yeah.
She had gone back to work 2 days after this was her second day back, 2 days after giving birth. I was that was my wake-up call, and this was probably 15 years ago when I realized how few people had access to paid leave. It was one of those things that maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know, and
Right.
now you do.
Right. And it's really, that's the story even of our, one of our best champions, especially on the Republican side, Representative Natalie Mihalik. She's a Republican,
Mhm,
also from outside in Allegheny County. That's her
mhm.
story. She had to go to work. There was, whether it was, pressure within the
Yeah.
company and or it was, financial. People just can't go home and be able to afford raising kids without that income. That's her story. And that's why she's such a strong advocate for it. But when it comes to child development, it has been proven when you have that
Mhm.
time with your parents, you are more likely to have that, better outcomes when it comes to child development,
Yeah.
not only for the kid, but also health outcomes for the mom in particular. And so when you
Mhm.
add financial and economic stress to a household, when that kid's young, it has long-term impacts on that kid's development. And so when you talk about a no-brainer at the top of the show, it is a
Yeah.
no-brainer. It is literally, at times it could change a kid's life. It
Mm.
could change the financial stability of a household by just the General Assembly coming together and passing something that could be done tomorrow.
Yeah.
This isn't rocket science.
Right.
This is a matter of just putting it up for a vote and passing the program.
So, it not being rocket science, but also the reality that if it were to become law tomorrow, what kind of impact do you think we would see in the first year, in the first 5 years? What would this mean, tangibly speaking?
We would stop seeing young families leave Pennsylvania.
Mm.
I live
Mm.
in Bucks County, so I'm right next to New Jersey. Do you know how many people over the years who I have been either associated with, through work or through families, and there is anecdote
Mm.
after anecdote after anecdote of young families leaving to go to New Jersey because they have access to paid family leave and better childcare subsidy,
Wow.
programs. Not to mention, they have been investing more in their public school system. So it's a long range of reasons why people leave Pennsylvania. That's not just for folks like me in Bucks County. Go up into the Scranton area. They're going to
Mhm.
New York, who has access to
Mhm.
that program, or New Jersey.
Yeah.
Go out into the central Pennsylvania. They can go to Maryland now, who has it, or Delaware, who has it. So you're really, the biggest impact would be, I think, for our economy overall right away. Because when you're
Mhm.
thinking about graduating from a school in Pennsylvania, we have great universities. I went to Penn State University.
Yeah.
A lot of my classmates by the time they've left,
Yeah.
and they go
Mm.
to great universities in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or somewhere like Penn State or elsewhere. I don't even want to talk about Penn State after this weekend of football, but they leave because they can't
Mhm.
afford to live here anymore. And when we're an
Mhm.
aging state like we are,
Yeah.
we're going to have real issues if we don't have young families raising their kids here. So I think the biggest impact overall would be that. And then you would have that immediate health, benefit when it comes to especially women who have children,
Mhm.
especially people who have long-term sickness issues. They can stay in the workforce. They don't have
Yeah.
to choose between their job, their health, and their financial well-being. And what we've seen in every single state that has passed this program, the benefits, whether it's like, worker, productivity or workforce, labor participation, it is all increased after paid family medical leave programs have passed. And so
Wow.
it's time for Pennsylvania to not only just catch up, but like literally just do something that makes sense when it comes to the economy for actual working families and not just, the big businesses that want to basically prevent everything happening that is pro family or pro worker.
Okay, so now I'm all fired up, as I'm sure
Yeah.
are the people listening, because you're right. This feels like this could happen. So how do we, as citizens, as people who live in the state of Pennsylvania, how can we help?
So right now, the Family Care Coalition is made up of over 100 organizations in Pennsylvania. We have a website and we have all the things. We have this, social media. We're at the Capitol all the time. We're doing district-led meetings around state representatives' homes and whatnot. Not their homes, but their home offices. And so what you can do is you can get involved that way, and you can follow us on social media, see upcoming times that we're going to the Capitol or advocating back in certain areas of the state. But really, what you can do is reach out to your state representative and your state senator to tell them your story,
Mm.
to tell them how this would impact your life. Every single person, whether you've had a baby or not, has a family member who is impacted by cancer, has a family member who has needed, relief from their job at a moment when their health was in danger. And there's not a single person. There's the reason why we had so many Senate Republicans supporting this. 10 years ago, we would have none.
Yeah.
Now everybody has a story. We'll go into an office right now and they'll be like, and they would say, "Oh, I know this was bipartisan 10 years ago. But this is just common sense today."
Yeah.
Because their daughter had to deal with this or themselves had to deal with that. And so not only reach out to your state rep and your state senator to say, "I want you to support this," but have them talk to their leadership about why they need to run the bill. The education for the lawmakers has been done. The work has been done for years. This has been going on for 10 years now in Pennsylvania, this advocacy work.
Wow.
It's a matter of them putting pressure on their leadership in the House and Senate to just run the bill.
Why are you so passionate about this, Dan? I mean, there's so many issues, right, that one can kind of attach themselves to. And I think it's really important because it can get very overwhelming, especially right now in the face of everything that we're all experiencing and witnessing, that you can become almost paralyzed by that feeling. So I always say action is just like, one step in one foot in front of the other. You don't have to do everything all at once. So why this issue? What attracted you to it?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a father of young children. That's an easy one. So lived some of these circumstances, but really, every single person that I talk to, they have run into this problem.
Yeah.
And people don't know what to do. And so usually what they do is they put their health behind their job.
Yeah.
They put their health behind what they really, making sure that they can keep that income. And what they end up doing is just hurting themselves long term. And at a time when things are chaotic, like now, you can wake up every single day, which I do, and I'm lucky enough to get paid to do this work, is I can actually do something to help people in this state. And I believe in Pennsylvania to actually take the lead. I think Harrisburg has created a culture of we can't do things. And so this bill around the Family Care Act, I think, is trying to prove that we actually can do big things for working families in Pennsylvania. Not only if Democrats control the House and Senate, or if Republicans control the House or Senate, but they could actually just talk. We're sitting in the middle of a time period where the state budget is 3 months overdue, and services are being cut, and they're playing politics. And in reality, they easily could just talk and solve big problems like paid family and medical leave and other issues, because the work is being done by advocates that we work with every day on this coalition and others. And so this is one of those things you can wake up and actually get done, and it's real, and it will have a direct impact on people.
As we wrap up here, I think this is very exciting that this could be on the horizon in the very near future for Pennsylvania. How many states do you think it would take for it to have to pass at a state level in order for this to sort of kick all its way up to the national level and perhaps see it at that someday?
Yeah, so usually, I'll get the number wrong, but my boss, who's her name's Donna Cooper, who runs Children First, she has that number. It's like anytime it's about, let's say, 17 states, and she'll yell at me if I get it wrong. But usually there's
okay.
There's
usually no
usually
quiz today.
I know. There's usually that propels the national Congress to actually get something done, and so that's why we feel so strongly, and I think national folks really feel so strongly that if we're able to get it done, it's almost like the perfect time for Pennsylvania to get it done, as we're always the talk of the political world and who's going to win Pennsylvania. And so we could push that over the finish line. Virginia is very close. They've been passing their bill in the last 2 sessions, and the governor has vetoed it. New Mexico has been on the brink, and it's us.
Wow.
Michigan's another one. I don't think it's a matter of, again, when or if. It's going to be when on the national level. But in the meantime, we're hoping that Pennsylvania can be a leader, and we're hoping that Governor Shapiro and leadership in House and Senate will take that lead to show the rest of the country that this is not only something that is a winning issue for them, but that also a issue that can actually impact working families, not only here in Pennsylvania, but across the country.
Dan O'Brien with Children First, thank you so much for being in conversation with me tonight, and for really just talking this through in a way that I think really helped break the issue down for people to understand, and for those that may not have known how close we really are here in Pennsylvania to making this happen. So if people want to learn more about how they can get involved with the Family Care Act, where can they go?
So they can go to familycareactpa.com or familycareact.com to learn more. You can also reach out to my organization at childrenfirstpa.org. And so there's many places that you can go to find out this information. There's great organizations, not just myself, and great partners that are doing this work. And so reach out. We can supply emails for that matter as well. But we're going to get it done, and I think your help to help push it over the finish line is going to take that one click of the mind for these folks in leadership to just do it. And you never know who or when that's going to happen.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for another edition of Facts Over Fear. And as always, please take care of yourselves and each other. Good night, everyone. Thank you.